Hello everyone. This is a recording for our missing lecture on today about how to debug. And the first example I want to show here is how to debug a really simple function called compute average. So if we just run this function here, you will find out on the bottom right, you will find out we have a type error which says unsupported operand types for a compound operator plus equal, that because that's a operation between an integer and a NumPy string. Okay, so and it also tells us which line the error is. So if you look at the highlighted yellow part here, you see this line of code, and you immediately realize this is exactly line 7. Okay, and if you are not able to find it, you can read the a little bit more colorful prompt on the above, which says from this file blah blah blah, it's obviously it's a file path, it's a path for the file in my computer, and we see the column 7, which corresponds to line 7. Okay, in the compute average, which is this function here. Okay, so I hope this information would be enough for you to locate where the error happens. So now let's find out what is the problem. So if you are really good in this class, you probably have already figured out by just looking at the code here while I was talking, you already figured out what's the problem here. Perhaps the problem here is nothing but just because we have this string here. For this line 16, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but the 6 is not a number 6, but a string 6. So that's why it caused the error. Okay, so if you so the easy way to fix it is just change this to 6, and now we're good. All right. So what if you don't you just can't figure it out which what caused the bug? Let's say you see the bug, you know this happens at line 7, but you just couldn't figure it out. Oh, that's because the type is wrong. Let's say this is the case. Then how are you going to deal with this? Okay, so the way we're going to deal with this is and basically this is what I want to teach you today, is to learn to use breakpoint. All right. Okay, so one thing we can use breakpoint. The other things that we can do is we can actually write down a piece of code to figure out what's going on here. Okay, so actually we can play something, we can modify the code a little bit and try to play something called this piece of code I'm going to write is going to catch the error. Okay, so if the error happens, I'm going to catch the error, and I will basically locate where the error is, and I will try to figure out what's going on here. Okay, so I know, so I'm going to using some sort of the command called try. So try is going to basically try to run the piece of code, but if error happens, I'm going to use except TypeError, and then I'm just going to return. I'm going to just, instead of let the code, not running anymore, I can continue running the code by just kind of having a plan B here. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I just want to point out error here. Okay, so and if we run the code, you will see the code can be successfully run, except we will have a problematic thing. We will have an error. Okay, all right. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I will add a breakpoint here. This breakpoint, once I add it, that means if I'm going to run the debug file, you see this control+5 here. You see this instead of running the triangle, green triangle here, I'm going to try the blue triangle. Okay, so if I'm going to click this one, the debugging file, I'm going to enable the debugging mode in the Python. Basically, it will just run the Python code, but when it sees the breakpoint, it will just the cursor sees the breakpoint, it will just stop. Okay, because I put the breakpoint here, that means if we really go into this block here, that means we actually find a type error, the code will stop. So let's try to do this. Okay, so if we click debug file, you see this. Did you see this bar here? This bar is a little bit grayish, and it's a little bit lighter than the background. Okay, and actually there is a little bit blue arrow here. I'm just, it's probably just because of the screen, I just can't show them. But anyway, because it's also covered by the red dot, which is a breakpoint. So it's difficult to see, but in any case, this is where we are right now. This is now this line 11 is the Python cursor. Python cursor just stopped right here. Okay. All right. So what we're gonna do now? Okay. So because I know this here right now, there's an error here. What I'm gonna do is I wanted to examine what's going on with the ARR that array. Okay, so now instead of looking at the code, let's take a look at the top right. We can see here is basically the variable explorer. It tells us what are the variables in each of the in the memory. So we know we have this ARR, and but let's just take a look at what these. First, let's take a look. What is I? Oh, obviously I is 0. Okay, and if I is 0, let's take a look at this. Oops. Okay, that's actually 1. That's a little bit strange. Why this AR is 1? But the one, it looks like the type of this is, if we look at the type of this guy here, that's actually a NumPy string. Okay, so what's going on here? It looks like something strange. What's going on here? Okay, so if we take a look at the ARR, oh, I see the type of this array is no longer an integer, but type is a string. Why does that happen? Well, it happened because we have a okay, it happens because we have one number inside the NumPy array, and NumPy array is defined. So the difference between NumPy array and the list, or the for example list in Python, is a NumPy array will enforce a homogeneous type across all elements inside this array. If we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in this array, NumPy array will automatically detect that this is going to be an integer array. But if we have one outlier, the NumPy array will try to accommodate the last one. So it becomes the case that we will end up with an array of strings, which is obviously we don't want. Okay, so let's, for example, let's just figure out. Did you see? Now this array here becomes a homogeneous array, but instead of having first 5 elements to be integer, they are just gone. All of them, you see, they enclosed by single quote. That means they are actually strings, unfortunately. Of course, you cannot just easily do. You cannot do. Obviously, in this case, if you want to compute the average, you don't want to compute them in the sense of a string, but you want to compute them in the sense of a vector. Sorry, in the sense of a floating number, okay, or integers, numerical numbers. Okay, so so basically, this type error, happens not just in the last iteration for the iterating number 6, but actually happens in the first iteration, because we see the little I here is 0, which refers to the first iteration of this for loop. Okay, So I hope this helps. I hope this helps, and hope you can learn something from it. You know, in the future you can use these kind of techniques to debug your code. Thank you.